Hello, in this video I'll be talking about solving percent problems using equations. In the last video we solved percent problems using proportions. I find using equations to be a little simpler, so we're going to try this technique out, and once you learn this you can use either technique that you like. So let's start out with this problem. 40% of what number is 30? When I'm solving percent problems using equations, I just use a direct translation method. So 40%, since I'm about to do a calculation with it, I use 0.4. You could also put 40 over 100 if you wanted. Of means multiplication. So of what number means a variable. So n. Of means multiplication. Is means equals, and 30 is 30. So what I'm solving is 0.4n equals 30. And then to actually solve it, we use the techniques we've used earlier in the year and last year, which is just isolating the variable. So I'm going to get n is equal to, well, 30 divided by 0.4 is the same as 300 divided by 4. So that's going to be 75. And then we can check it for to see if it seems logical. So 40% of 75 is 30. Well, 40% is less than half, so half of 75 would be about 37 and a half. So 40% being 30 would seem pretty reasonable. Let's go on to the next one. 18% of 90 is what number? Again, I'm going to change that 18% to 0.18. You could also have used 18 over 100 if you like. Of is multiplication. In this case I'll use parentheses. So multiplied by 90 is what number? We use a variable. Here the variable is already isolated, which is nice, so we just have to do 0.18 times 90. I'll do that over here. Let's see, we had 0, 720, 0, 0, 9, 0, 2. So I need to put 2 decimal places in here, so 16.20. Let's see if that makes sense. 18% of 90 is 16.2. Well, 10% would be 9. So 18%, that's almost double. That makes a lot of sense. 16.2. Let's go on to the next one. Again, direct translation. What percent? So I'm going to use a variable here. You could also use a variable over 100. The difference, I'll explain in a moment, so is 124. So what percent of, is multiplication, 496 is 124. Again, we're isolating the variable, so we're going to divide by 496. I'm going to rewrite this really quick in a form that you would normally see it, like that. Now we're going to divide by 496. Not sure what 124 divided by 496 is going to be. It's going to be close to 1/4, so close to 0.25, but not exactly. Use my trusty calculator on this one. 124 divided by 496. Oh, it is exactly 0.25. Is that right? Oh yeah, okay. That makes sense. So n equals 0.25. Now, here's where putting it as a fraction might help. So I'm going to do it both ways here. So in this case, remember it's asking for a percent. This is a decimal down here. So if I want to change that to a percent, I have to move the decimal over twice. So 25% is the answer. Now, if I instead use n over 100, then when I get my n, when I solve for n, it's actually going to be exactly 25, not 0.25. So you just need to be aware that is the answer you're getting a decimal or a percent. So in this case, you're going to get a decimal answer that you need to change to a percent. In this case, you'll be getting a percent answer that just stays as 25%. So I can actually do this one for you if you like. So what we have here is n times 496 over 100, so I can reduce that. I don't know what that would reduce to. Let's see, 50 and 248, which we could reduce to 25 and 124. Ooh, look at that. That's going to be interesting. So now we have 124 over 25 times n equals 124. And when you use the inverse operation here, you get the answer of 124 because these cancel out, leaving us with n equals 25. So notice, in this case, we got this 0.25, which we needed to change to a percent. Here we get actually 25, and we just say 25%. I generally use this technique because I'm pretty confident changing between percent and decimal, but it's up to you. Alright, so now let's see how this applies to a word problem. Let's say a ski resort in New Hampshire begins the season with 60% of its trails open. There are 27 trails open. How many trails does the ski resort have? Okay, well, what we need to realize here is that when it says 60% of its trails are open and also 27 trails are open, that means these are the same thing. So you could say that 27 equals 60% of the total number of trails, total trails, right? Another way you could say it is 60% of total trails, 60% of total trails is 27. Notice these are pretty similar. This is just kind of reversed. The 27's on the right side instead of the left, but it's still right next to the the equals, right? So the important thing to notice when you read this is that it tells you two things that say the same thing. Trails open, trails open. So you need to see that 60% is 27, right? 27 is 60% of something. And then you can just do your translation. So let's do it. 0.6 of total trails, which we don't know. So n is 27. And then if we divide both sides by 0.6, that's the same as 270 divided by 6. So that is going to be, let's see, 24, 45. So n equals 45. Don't answer like that because there is no n in the problem. The question is, how many trails does a ski resort have? 45 trails. Okay, let's try this next one. Of 3,072 teens surveyed, 2,212 say they read for fun. What percent of the teens surveyed say they read for fun? What percent of the teens surveyed? Well, this kind of does it right here, this whole question here. What percent, so that's our variable, n, of multiplication, teens surveyed, that's 3,072, say they read for fun, or is 2,212. Okay, so again, we have, it would look like this, and we would isolate the variable by dividing by 3,072. And using a trusty calculator in this case, because those are pretty large numbers. Before I use the calculator, I'm going to come up with a basic idea of what I think the answer should be. 3,000, so 2,200 divided by 3,000 is going to be close to 2/3, so it should be, I'm going to say around 0.7, 0.6 something. Let's try it out. 22 divided by 3,072.72. I'm pretty satisfied with that. 0.72. Going back now. What percent? So I'm looking for a percent. This is a decimal, so 72%. Or 72%. Alright, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to fill out the form.